Throughout all of fiction, there has always been a discussion of who is the strongest in a particular series. Whether that's if Goku can beat Superman, or if Makima can beat Goku. It's mainly who can beat Goku. However, a pitfall that many shonen fall into is writing the strongest. Someone so overpowered, so cool, so epic, that people will put their lives on the line to defend who they believe to be the strongest in online discussions. And of course, Jujutsu Kaisen is no exception to this trapping, with the most obvious example being Satoru Gojo, who to some extent is able to escape from the traditional shonen power scaling brain rot by being more than just the surface level god tier MC. Oh, and before we continue, spoilers for pretty much all of Jujutsu Kaisen. From the very beginning, it's made clear Gojo has always retained the title of the strongest, instead of growing into his power as he matures with the series. Even as a small child, Gojo seemingly was able to outclass powerful opponents such as Toji, who like Gojo was born into one of the strongest clans in Jujutsu society and arguably one of the strongest characters in the series, as portrayed through Maki post-Perfect Preparation arc. Of course, this power mainly derives from his heritage. As beholder of the Six Eyes, Gojo possesses extraordinary perception and of course the limitless technique, a main benefactor towards his title of the strongest. However, where most overpowered characters would let this extraordinary power go to their head, in turn making them a pompous douche, Gojo on the other hand, well, he did let it go to his head. At least he didn't become a pompous douche, just a racist instead. Thanks, Gigi. Okay. However, this egotistical mentality sort of comes from a place of kindness in a weird roundabout way, as Gojo encourages those closest to him through unconventional methods, such as being just completely blunt but honest, by telling Ichiji to give up on becoming a Jujutsu sorcerer. While yes, he's again incredibly blunt and to the point, it comes from a place of kindness, as realistically, if Ichiji continued down his path of training, he definitely would have ended up like Hayabara. In comparison to the other clans, who hold the title of the strongest, such as the Zenin clan, it's miraculous that Gojo didn't fall down a dark path, like a certain friend with potential benefits, which we'll get to soon. From the outset, the Zenin are the complete opposite of Gojo's mentality, believing those weaker should be eliminated, whether they be sorcerer or non-sorcerer, such as in the case of Maki and Mai's treatment in the Perfect Preparation arc by both their father and Naoya, who, dear god, someday I'll have to dedicate an entire video to this massive piece of shit. Anyway, this severe mistreatment of others isn't too far removed from Geto's incredibly closed-minded mentality towards treating both the weak and non-jujutsu sorcerers. He'd be best friends with a certain space emperor for real. Gojo, on the other hand, is much more compassionate towards the weak and non-jujutsu sorcerers, such as in the case of trying to protect as many civilians as possible during the Shibuya incident, and of course protecting both Yuta and Yuji from the scummy jujutsu higher-ups who would rather execute two teenagers than try to come to a compromise to aid them with their struggles and controlling their insanely overpowered curses. Which is where Gojo comes in, preferring to threaten to execute said higher-ups instead of letting two innocent people get game ended for a situation they quite literally cannot control. And then there's Geto, the complete yet not entirely opposite to Gojo's ideologies. Well yes, he's quite clearly the bad guy, like a pretty evil guy, wanting to move forward in a world where ordinary people don't exist, just to put Jujutsu sorcerers on an even higher pedestal due to their clear weakness of being unable to both see curses and utilize cursed energy. But, much like Gojo, Geto too steps up to save two children from getting killed, although instead of threatening said potential executioners, he goes all in and straight up marks them without hesitation. You know, two sides of the same coin and all that jazz. And while Gojo and Geto might have been the same to some extent, there's one character who can only be described as the Anti-Gojo. One sorcerer so vile, so despicable, he can only be described as the second worst sorcerer in Jujutsu history. Sukuna is quite literally the exact opposite to Gojo, in both mannerisms and fighting style. While Gojo utilizes a precise, calculated method of fighting his opponents through his various six-eyes abilities, rarely letting loose and causing mass destruction, with the exception of instances such as using his imaginary technique against Toji, or blasting off red against a cursed spirit during the night parade of 100 demons, as these examples were clearly driven by emotions, while Sukuna has no regard for life around him, rarely pulling his punches against foes unless he wants to toy with them, which often results in an insurmountable amount of destruction, as he violently demonstrated in Shibuya against Maharaga, completely blipping a portion of the city off the map. Again, like the Zenin clan, Sukuna is a clear case of allowing this immense power from birth to go to his head, leading to entitlement over those weaker than him by straight up killing those that dare to question his power and authority as a so-called king of curses. Now, one factor these two share is their obsession with Mr. Potential Man himself, Megami Fushiguro. Whereas Gojo acts as a father figure to Megami after offing Toji, Sukuna on the other hand has much more of an obsession with Megami due to his latent potential as a member of the Zenin clan, resulting in Megami becoming Sukuna's next victim towards the end of the Culling game, and in turn the end of Satoru Gojo during the Shinjuku Showdown arc, which now puts another Gojo clan member, albeit very distant, in Satoru's shoes. Now, of Megami's potential man, what does that make Yuta? Just kidding. Mostly. Yuta, similarly to Gojo, was put into a position of power since a young age. Although whereas Gojo's power comes from birth, Yuta's comes from a circumstance of chance, accidentally cursing his childhood crush into making Yuta a grade 1 sorcerer, even donning the title of Queen of Curses, an obvious direct parallel to Sukuna. What really separates Yuta from the rest of the strongest is his ability to copy others, making him potentially the strongest character in the series. Although does it really count if you're stealing everyone else's abilities and even bodies? I'm just kidding. Yuta is pretty good in all honesty. His ability to copy other sorcerers' curse techniques is one of the most unique in the series so far, with an endless amount of possibilities, and it's not even factoring in his domain. While, yeah, it's pretty much gambling, it could definitely prove to be one of the strongest domains under the right circumstances. We know from Kenjiku jacking Geto's body that he was able to borrow Geto's curse techniques, potentially even his domain, to really broaden the scope of just how powerful Yuta can become. If Gojo's abilities do in fact carry over to when, or really if, Yuta is able to return to his original body. Despite the many ups and downs of the series, it's safe to say Jujutsu Kaisen has some of the best written overpowered characters in all of shonen, ranging from multi-layered characters like Gojo to characters who are evil for the sake of evil such as Sukuna. In the end, Gojo definitely takes the cake as one of the best written characters in Jujutsu Kaisen, and with the door left wide open for Yuta as the future contender of the strongest, who really knows where the series will go from here. Hopefully continue with the UG agenda.